I released 23 pounds in 90 days, and I'm going to share with you exactly what I learned and why this changed everything for me. Now, I'll be honest. I just got married. And I was like, I got to make a change. I was feeling good. I'd been working out. I've always been someone who was active, but I was like, I need to step it up a notch. I just got married. I want to be Superman for my wife and for my future kids. I was like, let's freaking go. But I didn't really have a plan, and what I was currently doing wasn't making any big shifts. So I knew I needed to make a massive change. And so what I'm going to teach you and what I'm going to share is just the things that I've done, the things that I learned, because I believe that now looking back 90 days later, these are the same type of changes that I'm going to implement and that I currently implement when I want to learn something new, take on a new hobby, make an adjustment into the business, or just change something that doesn't feel 100% incredible in my life. And so I started at 169 pounds. I released 23 pounds. Okay, that's more than 10% of my entire body weight. I released it. And I want to give a big shout out here before I even continue to Coach Alan Dick and Dan Martell, because their program was the one that I decided to invest in and to join as I went through this. And so here's what I did. I'm going to lay out what I did, and then I'm going to share a couple of things that I think are relevant for everything. So what I did was, the first thing I did was I identified the problem. Okay, I became self-aware that I wanted to make a change. Now, for some people, this is an obvious thing in your life. This is an obvious thing. For me, I felt good in my body. I felt good. I felt energetic, but I wanted to level up. As I mentioned, I had just been married, and I wanted to become like a superhero, both for myself and for my wife and just for the future of my life. And so I identified the problem, and for me, I wanted to go towards this result of feeling even better, getting even more energy, and just feeling more fired up, and really shifting my identity to what I knew I was capable of. So once I'd identified the problem, I said, well, okay, where do I want to go? What's the solution? And so for me, where I wanted to go was I wanted to feel better. I wanted to connect with more people. I wanted to get into a routine. I wanted to do something that would kick my butt and really challenge me, because as an athlete, I love being challenged. I love being motivated. I love being in a routine that just makes me better. And so what I did was I looked around and I identified, well, who is the person that potentially has this solution? And a friend of mine, Jackie Service, she had been in this program, and she was like, Jake, this is something that you got to think about. And so I looked it up, and it's this program by Dan Martell and Coach Alan Dick. And I was like, all right, let's see. And I watched a video that Dan had done. He had lost a ton of weight. He got absolutely jacked. And I was like, fire me up. Let's give this a shot. And so now I had found the person that I wanted to do, and then I made the investment into the program. This was the turning point for me, because as someone who is incredibly naturally disciplined, but sometimes I let a few different things go because I'm like, I'm so disciplined in many aspects. What I did was I had to make the investment into my fitness, into my health, because I knew that if I did that, I was going to be more likely to show up and to actually commit and follow through, because I had that added accountability of finances. And so I made this investment into them. And I'll tell you this, the first thing that they do is they put you on this cleanse. It's a 16-day cleanse. And that shit was so hard. The first few days you're drinking tomato juice, and I was gagging every single time. I was like, this is disgusting. But I was committed to the process. And what I recognized here was that I identified my problem. I identified the outcome of where I was looking for. I found the person who could do it. I made the financial investment. And then here was the best part. I committed to the process. And what was really great, and what is really great about this program, is here are the workouts, here's the foods. Do it. There's no questioning. And what I found is that this has saved me a ton of time and mental energy and even decision fatigue around what am I going to eat? What am I going to work out? When am I going to work out? How often should I be eating? It just eliminated my need to understand all of this and just trust it. Now, of course, I did some research on it. I asked some colleagues in the fitness space to just make sure that it was something that was good for me. And I made the decision that I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to commit to it. And the results have spoken for themselves. I feel really, really great. I've released 23 pounds. I'm really excited. And so I think that when it comes to all of this stuff, if you want to make a massive shift, I believe that it's not the action necessarily that creates the difference. I believe that the actions over time do, but I believe that releasing the weight isn't just the goal. The goal was to level up my entire life and myself. And Dan talks about this and he goes, it's not a fitness program, it's a mindset program. It's about becoming the next version of you. And so for me, that was what has been really, really advantageous is, yeah, I've released this weight that I didn't even know I really needed to release. And I'm fired up about that. But what's even better than that is the mental shifts around this. And it reminded me, I can do tough things. I can trust the process. It reminded me that if there's a proven plan, just do it. Somebody out there has already laid the groundwork. Stop trying to create things on your own. I think about this a lot with books. Why try to figure it out on your own when there's people just like us who can teach you exactly what to do and when to do it and then even do it for you, right? And so when I think about all aspects of my life and I think about the changes that I want to make, this is going to be a continued proven path that I'm going to double down on. Now, something that's real for me is that when I am doing this and I'm in business, I've always invested in mentors. I have some great mentors in Chris Harder. I'm part of his mastermind and it's been amazing. Okay. And I'm willing to make that investment. But it was funny because when it came to my health and fitness, this was an area that I had so much pride around. I didn't feel like I needed the help. I could figure it out on my own. I could watch the videos and do it. But the truth was when I looked at myself and I really dialed in both the literal mirror and the metaphorical mirror, I was like, this isn't my best self. This isn't what I'm capable of becoming. This isn't even really what I ultimately want. And so I had to have that recognition to say, you know what? We got to go to the next level. We got to make the next change. And so when I look at all of this, every aspect of my life, it's what's the problem, right? If it's a big enough problem, you'll be willing to make a change. If the problem isn't big enough, you are not going to be willing to make the decision and the commitment to make the change. This is exactly what happened to me. My fitness, my health, it was good enough until it got to a point where my desire for more was greater than my current pain of where I was at. And that's what shifted me. That's what broke it. That's what was the turning point. And so for me, it's you got to identify the problem. You got to identify where do you want to go? What is the outcome that you're seeking? Okay, now that you have these two things, who can bridge the gap? I always like to think of a who. It's easier to find someone who's already done it than to figure it out all on your own. So who's the person that has already done it? Okay, great. Now, what is their plan or what was their process so you can shorten the roadmap to getting there? Boom. Now you have a roadmap. Once you have the roadmap, you just got to do the damn thing, right? And let me tell you this, it ain't going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. This has been one of the harder things that I've done. And it's funny to me that this is one of the harder things that I've done in recent years. When I've done a 100-mile bike ride, I played sports growing up. I was always doing things. I invested in my business. I've been growing our business. We've been growing our team. But this was the harder one for me, something that I didn't feel it. And the reason was because I had so much pride and ego around it that I wasn't willing to accept the help that I knew I needed to accept. And that's been the change. So I identified the problem, figured out where I wanted to go, figured out who could bridge the gap, got the roadmap, trusted the process, and now I've gotten the results. And because of this whole thing, I released 23 pounds, but I'm a different person. I'm leveling up. I'm feeling good. I'm flexing in the mirror like, let's go, right? I'm hyped, right? Me and my wife are having even deeper conversations. We're chatting about it. My friends are asking me, how are you doing this? What are you doing? I'm giving them advice. Like, this is the ripple effect. This is where it all begins. But you have to decide. If you look back to what I said, you have to decide. Is the problem that you're currently having big enough for you to commit to finding a solution? And so that's what I'll leave you with here today is what is the problem that you want to make a change with? And it doesn't have to be a big problem. Just what is the area that you want to improve? And is that pain strong enough for you to make the decision to find the solution on the other side? Let's go. This fires me up. I hope it fired you up too, and I'll talk to you soon.